The supporters there at Clinton headquarters listening intently as the results come in. Some of the people look almost crestfallen.
Well, certainly not what they were expecting at the beginning of the evening.
We had called Pennsylvania 4 years ago at 9:40.
They seem to be turning out in some places, certainly in Pennsylvania, very heavily for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, the tears have started at the Clinton campaign.
This is Clinton campaign, the watch party at the Clinton campaign. Clearly a great deal of concern. Nancy Cordes is there. Nancy, tell us about the mood.
Well, Scott, the reason that you see so many shell-shocked faces here is because these are very intense supporters. They are longtime volunteers, and they know exactly what a loss in Wisconsin would mean. It would almost certainly preclude Hillary Clinton from getting to the 270 electoral votes she needs. And so this is really a stunner. The last time that Hillary Clinton was in Wisconsin, we just checked, was April 2nd, 7 months ago. So a tight race here really was not on the campaign's radar screen at all. Now, the Clinton campaign itself was very chatty earlier in the night. They've gotten quite quiet, but I did manage to get through to a Clinton aide a short time ago who says that they do believe that they will pull out a victory in Michigan and in Wisconsin at the end. He pointed out that a lot of votes in Madison, Wisconsin are still out, a big college town, a lot of young voters there, and a lot of votes in Detroit, Michigan are still out, obviously the state's largest city with a large proportion of African American voters. But the fact that these two races are close at all, once again.
Hillary Clinton opting out of her own Election Day party, as we've been telling you, leaving her supporters there in shock as she concedes to Donald Trump by picking up the phone and calling him.
Fox News senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel
gathered at her election night event, expecting it to be a celebration and to be historic. Late night after 2 a.m., her campaign chairman sent those supporters home.
We're at the CBS News decision desk, and early indications are this is shaping up as a tight race for president. We could be in for a long night. Polls have closed in 6 states, including 2 of the battlegrounds that will decide the presidency.
They are Virginia and Georgia, and it is too soon to project a winner in either state. But in Virginia, Hillary Clinton has an edge over Donald Trump based on the exit polls. Both candidates are on the board with wins. We project Clinton will get Vermont's 3 electoral votes.
Trump rakes in 8 in the bluegrass state of Kentucky.
And he gets 11 more in his running mate's home state of Indiana.
We're just getting started. It's election night on CBS.
We want to defend our most cherished values.
This is a movement like no one has ever seen before.
I want this election to be about something, not just against somebody.
We will make America great again.
Let's make history together.
Get out and vote, 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 vote.
America's best days are still ahead of us.
We are going to drain the swamp of corruption.
Let's go out and prove love trumps hate.
Good evening. I'm Scott Pelley with Nora O'Donnell at CBS News election headquarters in New York. With us tonight are John Dickerson and Charlie Rose, Gayle King and Bob Schieffer, and Elaine Quijano. The nastiest presidential campaign in our lifetimes has finally come to an end. More than 4 out of 5 voters told us they were disgusted by it.
That's right. And tonight, voters are deciding whether the 45th president of the United States will be the first woman to hold the office. That is 69-year-old Democrat Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State, New York Senator and First Lady, or 70-year-old Donald Trump, the New York businessman and former reality TV star, making his first run for office. I think everybody knows who the candidates are. They have both had historically high disapproval ratings above 50%.
Voters are also deciding which party will control Congress. Will the Republicans hold on to both the House and the Senate? The Democrats need a net gain of only 5 seats to take the Senate back, or just 4 seats if Clinton wins the presidency and Vice President Tim Kaine becomes the 50-50 tiebreaker.
In the presidential election, it's all about the electoral votes. Each state gets as many of those as it has senators and representatives in Congress. D.C. gets 3 votes for a total of 538. And to win the presidency, you need a majority. That's 270 electoral votes. So let's look at where we are. Trump has 19 electoral votes. Clinton has 3.
Let me begin with this idea of a close race. Surprising. It could change during the evening as we learn more and we have more polls that have been counted.
Right.
But surprisingly close.
Well, close, tight. You're wondering if it's close and we have no idea what's going to happen, or close and trends that existed a week ago in which Mrs. Clinton was doing well will continue. To me, we're just starting out this evening. I'm looking at who shows up at the polls. It looks anecdotally like a lot of people did. We will see. We won't know till the evening. Bottom line, does the Obama coalition hold for Mrs. Clinton and really come out? Does Mr. Trump's promise of a broad working class sort of coalition with a lot of Democrats in it turn out to be true? What is the mix of Hispanics, white educated, white not so educated folk turn out to be? From there, we will know a lot, and it'll take a while to figure it out.
I mean, right now it's looking like it did with the polls.
Exactly. That's what it looks like.
The results we seem to be getting at this point, very early still, suggest an electorate that looks a lot like it did in 2012, maybe larger, and it suggests that we're not going to see some huge deviation from the last suite of national polls or state level polls. There still might be some surprises, precisely because things are close, things are tight, but we shouldn't, I think, at this stage expect some sort of wild variation. If you've been obsessively clicking on polling forecasters, you probably have a pretty good sense of what this race looks like.
Yeah, I don't think it's a surprise at all that we have a close race. I think people are obviously going to be very cautious at this hour of the evening. You have to be very definitive, like, say Vermont or Kentucky in either direction in order to make a real call. Right. I do think that, as Jamel said, I think that the numbers that we've seen leading up seem to be predictive. I also think that, maybe the most important numbers of all, which are Hispanic voters in Florida, seems to be the operative, number. And I think if that holds through the evening, that'll be interesting.
And the question is whether the turnout is driven by voting against something or voting for something.
Yeah, you have to wonder if it's hate voting or hope voting.
But either way, I mean, a vote's a vote, right? So if a bunch of people turn out because they hate Donald Trump, they're still turning out, they're still casting ballots. And as far as Latino voters go, if they are turning out in the rates that anecdotes suggest in Florida, then that's great. That's a great sign for Secretary Clinton.
One state you looking at, Mark?
Well, North Carolina, and not just because you're from there. No, I mean, it's been close. It's closer than a lot of the people thought. Hillary Clinton seems like she has a very good chance to win there. African-American vote seems a little down, but we'll see.
We'll be with you all evening. Back to you, Nora.
This election is about what we stand for.
We are about change. She is about keeping it the way it is.
Polls are now closed in 4 of the 13 battleground states that will decide the presidency tonight. We have no decision yet on any of them. In the very early going, Trump has 24 electoral votes, Clinton 3, both still a very long way from the magic number of 270.
Now it is 7:30, so polls have just closed in Ohio and North Carolina, of course, 2 big battleground states.
Donald Trump, the states in blue are the states that we have shown, that we have estimated victory for Hillary Clinton. The states that are in white, these critical states that are in white, are states where the polls have closed, but the vote totals are so close that we're not able to make an estimate in those races. Believe us, the moment we can make an estimate in any of those races, we will do so and drop whatever we're doing to bring you the breaking news.
Thank you very much, Scott. We've continued this vote about Hispanics. I want to talk to Leslie Ruth Marcus here and Leslie Sanchez and Frank Luntz. Frank, what do you think is going on in the Hispanic community, and how large will this turnout be, and how influential is it in this election?
If the white community is angry, the Hispanic community is insulted. They were insulted by the language that Donald Trump used. They were insulted by the tone. And every time he would say that Mexico was going to pay for the wall, and whenever he talked about immigration policy, they felt like he was telling them they weren't welcome. And every time that he said that the Hispanics, they love me, they don't. And I'm looking across the country, and it's not just on border states, it's also states like Colorado, Illinois. The Republican Party in general, and Donald Trump in particular, cannot win when you are only getting 25 to 30% of the Hispanic vote. You cannot put together a majority, and they are the fastest growing segment of American society and the greatest switch away from the GOP over the last 10 years.
And I'd say one other thing to that, which is you use the word insulted. I would actually use the word incensed, yes. Because I think that
driven to the polls.
Driven to the polls. But you know, if you're insulted, you might sit home and just seethe. They're going.
But if you're incensed, you will get in the car and go vote.
You're getting in the car, and it's not just. I suspect it will be not just the Hispanic community. We saw this 4 years ago with Asian voters. Who would be typically Republican voters deserting Mitt Romney. I think you may see that again, maybe in even greater numbers this year. So when you insult kind of one ethnic minority and a bunch of immigrants, you insult even more than the Hispanic population.
I think you're talking about. I think the question tonight is this going to be the largest rejection of a GOP nominee in basically recent history? Republicans have earned about 31% of the Hispanic support for the last 10 presidential elections. The question is he going to perform below that? Are we going to get in Bob Dole territory of 21%? But one thing I would caution is that big wave, what he has managed to do is unite a dormant Hispanic community that it doesn't vote in the numbers that they can.
The Clinton camp is saying there's a new coalition. It includes Hispanics, and it's a larger coalition than even Obama had.
And I'd say it's way too early to see that. Barack Obama made the same declaration in 2008, and then Republicans won control of the House in 2010. He made the same declaration in 2012, and the GOP won Congress and the governorships in 2014. These things are temporary. But make no mistake, Charlie, both Republicans and Democrats are looking at these numbers and saying that this group that is moving so fast, that is growing so fast, is going to be a nightmare for the GOP going forward unless they adopt a new message and new policies.
Well, and the GOP knew that, right?
Yes.
4 years ago, we had this famous autopsy. They diagnosed their problem. They set out the solution.
Their problem was on outreach. We've got to reach out.
No, specifically immigration reform. Where was it? What are they going to do now?
We have to go back to the desk, Nora.
Back now with election night coverage on CBS. Polls are closed in 26 states and the District of Columbia as America elects a president. No projected winners yet in any of the 13 battleground states that will tell the tale tonight. But in the race to 270 electoral votes and the presidency, Clinton has 68, Trump 66. We still have a very long way to go.
We do, and we're going to get to some of those individual states in just a moment, those battleground states. We're getting some really interesting numbers. But first, in the state of Florida, CBS News projects that Marco Rubio has won his Senate seat there in that state. I think it's fair to say that of the 16 Republicans that challenged Donald Trump for the nomination, Rubio may be the only one who's having a victory speech tonight. He wasn't going to run for the Senate. When he lost, he decided to get back into this contest.
And so many people wonder if his career was over, his political career was over after he dropped out of the race. I have relatives in Florida. I have relatives in Florida who said he talked so much about his dislike for the Senate.
Yes, exactly. Until the Republican leaders came to him and said, we're in danger of losing the Senate. We need to hold on to a seat in Florida, and you need to go back and run in that seat. He is now, along with Senator Portman in Ohio, one of the two Republicans who was able to get out from under Donald Trump. Even though Democrats tried to tie them, they were able to succeed. We don't know what the outcome in Florida is at the presidential level yet, but obviously Marco Rubio did better because we're able to make a projection there about Marco Rubio.
Well, let's have a look at the battleground states now. These are the 13 states that could go either way and will therefore determine the election. As you see that graphic there, Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and Florida, the polls have closed in all of those states, and they are all so close that we are unable to make an estimate of who is ahead or who is projected to win in those states. The states that you see below there, those polls will be closing later as we go on into the evening.
Scott, you and I were looking closely at the state of Florida, a must-win for Donald Trump. We've now got 91% of the expected vote in, and wow, the margin is razor thin, isn't it, Scott?
8 million votes cast so far, and they're separated by 70,000.
Wow. What's going on in Florida?
I'm working on it, Nora. So here's one thing that is not that doesn't help us. One is that in 2012, there were 67% of the electorate in Florida was white. Now it's only 61%. So that kind of a drop between 2012 and 2016, you would think would hurt Donald Trump, but he's neck and neck here tonight. So he's picking up some. The alternative is that Hillary Clinton is not turning out the vote in the way Barack Obama did. So we're just going to have to keep waiting to figure out.
What segment of the vote she's not turning out?
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, this is eerily like 2000. I mean, are we going to start hearing about hanging chads in a minute here?
In 2000, there were only 500 or so votes between Al Gore and President Bush.
But, John, didn't Donald Trump and both Hillary Clinton spend a lot of time in Florida? Both of them.
Well, that's the cost of doing business in politics. When you have to pay attention to Florida and Ohio and North Carolina. I mean, they're battleground states for a reason. So they spend a lot of time there. What's interesting is, to Major's point about a ground game in Florida,
and Donald Trump lives there.
The Republican National Committee set up a ground game after the loss in 2012. Reince Priebus, the chairman of the party, said we have to have people on the ground working the doors, knocking on the doors, getting people to vote. But he set up a system, and the question is, how did that system work with the Trump campaign? That may be one of the after stories.
What do we know about the vote that has not been reported in Florida? Where is it coming from?
I'll let John look at that right now, and I can tell you this, though, the interesting breakdown between men and women, it's virtually split. I mean, women are going for Clinton 51 to 44 for Trump, and men, Clinton 44, Trump to 49. So you don't see a huge gender gap. You see a small gender gap there in the state of Florida. And independents almost breaking even, Clinton 44, Trump 45%. But the Clinton campaign has been saying Miami-Dade would be key to their victory, that they would be able to turn out the Hispanic vote and the African-American vote in large numbers, in part by the early vote and also on Election Day. If they don't do that, that means that Trump can win that state, and as of right now, with 90% the vote in, it's neck and neck.
Trump must win Florida in order to have a reasonable path to the presidency. It's not essential for Hillary Clinton, though. She can put together other ways to get there.
Yeah.
That's right, especially if she's, Virginia is edging towards Hillary Clinton. Again, if she wins the traditional Democratic states plus Virginia and North Carolina, then she's very much on her way to getting that magical 270.
If anybody was going into this, Nora, wondering whether there was going to be a blowout tonight, we now have the answer. This is going to be a very close race.
A very close race. I want to show you the state of Ohio, of course, because we've talked a lot about that state. Only about a third of the vote is in at this hour. But at this hour, Hillary Clinton is leading 50 to 45%. And as you can see, a very close margin there. I don't think we can make any assumptions right now because so little of the vote is in. And this is a state that Donald Trump is expecting to do well in. Some of the early signs suggest that he has the edge in that state, but there's the vote there.
Can I just say that we have, it appears that on Virginia we have it as leaning down now, not just edge, but leaning down, moving a little bit more warmly towards Hillary Clinton.
But North Carolina is still at edge?
Yes.
We see now, of course, the state of Virginia, which just has about half of the vote in, as John just mentioned, and Hillary there with about a 4-point lead, and that's why at CBS News we are
Back now with election night on CBS. It is 9 o'clock in the east, 6 in the west, and it is a tight race for president and a long time before we are going to know who won tonight. Polls just closed in 14 more states, including 4 key battleground states: Arizona, Colorado, Wisconsin, and Michigan. All four are toss-ups right now. Still no winner in any of the 13 battleground states that will decide this election tonight. In the race to 270 electoral votes and the presidency, Donald Trump has 123. Hillary Clinton has 97. It is still early.
Has won in that state. She is the winner. Not a big surprise there, not a huge electoral cache of votes.
Not a big surprise there. Now Hillary Clinton has 104 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 129. Still very early yet, but the tale of the evening is going to be told in these 13 battleground states.
At the same time, we have a CBS News projection at this hour. In the state of Louisiana, Donald Trump is the winner.
No big surprise there, of course. That's not a battleground state. Expected it to go Republican all along. But let's have a look at our map status of the race right now as it stands. Hillary Clinton with 104 electoral votes, 137 for Donald Trump. Election night on CBS, we have an important update for you on Ohio. We have now moved Ohio into the likely Republican category. Anthony Salvanto, our Director of Elections, tell me about Ohio.
Well, Scott, it's not a projection yet, but let me show you why this is trending toward Donald Trump. We always talk about Cleveland and how Hillary Clinton had to get big turnout there. She's doing okay, but I would point you to these counties around Cleveland, places like Lake County. Democrats often do well in the suburbs around Cleveland, too. Hillary Clinton is not. Donald Trump is outperforming. Again, I've used that word 100 times tonight, but he's outperforming what Republicans typically do in these counties here along the lake. And if that holds, then he could very well take Ohio.
Tell us about the rest of the upper Midwest.
Yeah, it's so important, Scott. We talked coming into this night that if this would be what they called the blue wall, Hillary Clinton's base where these states reliably vote Democratic, but they're full of the kind of blue-collar workers and voters that usually go Democratic, but Donald Trump has been targeting them, and we haven't made projections yet in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin. All of those are still in play, and as long as that holds, it tells you the story that Hillary Clinton is underperforming what she needs to do.
And CBS News is making a new projection for the state of Ohio, and we'll have that up for you here in just a moment. And there is the state of Ohio. CBS News is projecting that once all the votes are counted, Donald Trump will win Ohio. Now, this keeps his hopes alive. Ohio was a very important state for him to win. CBS News is projecting that when all of the votes are counted, Hillary Clinton will have won the state of Colorado, one of the toss-up states that we have been watching very closely tonight. CBS News now believes that Hillary Clinton will be the winner in Colorado. That gives her Colorado and Virginia. Donald Trump, we have projected the winner in Ohio. It's election night on CBS, and we have breaking news. Polls are now closed in every state but Alaska. CBS News projects Hillary Clinton has won California and 55 Golden State electors. Donald Trump gets Idaho's 4 electoral votes. And with that, Clinton retakes the lead from Donald Trump in the race to 270 electoral votes. She has 186, he has 172. But 10 of the 13 battleground states still have no winner.
We need to % of the vote in there.
Interrupt because CBS News is estimating that in the state of Utah, Donald Trump is the winner. In the state of Oregon, we are predicting that Hillary Clinton will be the victor at the end of the night. So we should go back to our electoral vote board and show you where things stand right now. Wow. Hillary Clinton with 197 electoral votes, Donald Trump with 193. Breaking news, CBS News now estimates that Donald Trump will be the winner in Florida. This was key to the Trump campaign. He virtually could not win the presidency without Florida. He has now racked up Florida, North Carolina, and Ohio by our estimates among the battleground states.
And the pathway for Hillary Clinton?
Hold those states. She has to hold those states and win Nevada. If she does that, then she's able to. And she also has to keep Maine, which is one of the other states as a part of the blue wall. Maine, which is with its 4 electoral votes, so she has to hold that too. And in a night where Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are in the balance, simply holding what Democrats traditionally hold is not a certainty.
John, his campaign had predicted that he would win the Rust Belt area. Seems to me that they were exactly right, weren't they?
They were, and they kept talking about the enthusiasm and turnout at his rallies. And anybody who's covered politics knows that sometimes a big rally is a bit of a fooler, because you can get a lot of people super enthusiastic in a rally, but sometimes that's all you can do is fill up a rally, and you can't get the rest of the coalition. But here, the rally sizes did.
They rallied, and then they went to the polls.
Look at the supporters there at Clinton headquarters, listening intently as the results come in. Some of the people look almost crestfallen.
Well, certainly not what they were expecting at the beginning of the evening.
We had called Pennsylvania 4 years ago at 9:40.
And now it is a toss-up, too close to estimate. Nora is just watching these data come in.
That's
Nora?
Right. CBS News is projecting that in the state of Iowa, Donald Trump has won. This was a state that Barack Obama had won in the past 2 elections, but the demographics of the state did favor Donald Trump.
They did, although he lost the caucus there. So Barack Obama's career started by winning the caucuses in Iowa. Donald Trump lost them there, and now he's won tonight. And you're exactly right. It's a state that was demographically very much in the Donald Trump camp.
Nancy Cordes, thank you. And in the state of Georgia, CBS News projects that Donald Trump is the winner. Another battleground state falls, although Georgia has been a reliably Republican state in past presidential elections.
Now Donald Trump is getting very close to the 270 that he needs to win the presidency. He is at 244. Hillary Clinton 197. And as you know, 270 again needed to win the presidency.
Welcome back to CBS News election night coverage. It is a white knuckles kind of night. Donald Trump, and you can see doing very well tonight. Most of the United States is a swath of red tonight. We want to go through each particular state because we started off the night with 13 battleground states. Now we're down to 6. In Washington State, CBS News projects Hillary Clinton as the winner. That will add a number of electoral votes to her tally, as Washington State is some 12 electoral votes.
That was expected, though, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Washington for her.
Yes.
So.
Now the tally, Donald Trump, 244 electoral votes.
After the Civil War, there was Reconstruction. And Reconstruction, Black Americans and white Americans attempted to build a new kind of South. What happened after Reconstruction was angry, recalcitrant whites pushed back. They retook their government through force, through violence, and we had redemption. And that lasted up until the 20th century. We had a second Reconstruction in the 1960s, and we've had a backlash to that Reconstruction. I think the extent to which Donald Trump has won, running a campaign of racism and bigotry, turning out millions of white Americans for that campaign, suggests that we are living through a kind of second redemption, a kind of pushback against the advancement of African Americans, of Hispanics, of women, of Muslim Americans. And I don't know how long we live with that backlash.
I think it's a pushback and a backlash, but I think it's about something that is much more longer running than race. I think it's a rejection of the elites of both of our political parties. In the past 16, no, I think it's longer running than merely a reaction to the election of the first Black American president. I think it's much more about a reaction to the fact that we had, under Bush and Obama, policies that did not benefit these people, that they did not see as benefiting themselves. And I think they're rejecting both of those party elites. I think that's why Trump came along and was able to take over the Republican Party with a message that was very un-Republican.
We're looking at unified white support for Donald Trump, unified among college-educated whites, among working-class whites. I don't think this is just a question of poor economic policy policy for working class whites. I think we're
but
looking
clearly
at
they're
something
dissatisfied with the
racial.
Obama agenda, and it's something that they don't view as satisfying their needs. Barack Obama expanded Medicaid dramatically in a lot of these white working class communities under the idea that it would both help them, but that it would also give them a vested interest in re-electing the Democratic Party. This is the what's the matter with Kansas problem. Clearly that didn't work.
Peggy?
I'm thinking, what is it like in the White House tonight? The President of the United States will, if trends continue, if Mr. Trump is elected tonight, I think experience this as a rebuke, as America almost saying, we thought you'd bring us together, you didn't, and now we've taken this surprising decision and really kind of confounded political history.
Let us say very clearly here, this is as tight as it could be. Donald Trump is in the lead. He needs 26 more electoral votes to get to 270. He is not there. There are too many undecided right now, nor is Hillary Clinton. Take it back now to Scott and Nora.
The Clinton campaign chairman, John Podesta, has left the hotel, and here he is to address the crowd. Let's listen.
Thank you. Well, folks, I know you've been here a long time, and it's been a long night, and it's been a long campaign. But I could say we can wait a little longer, can't we? They're still counting votes, and every vote should count. Several states are too close to call, so we're not going to have anything more to say tonight. So listen to me. Everybody should head home. You should get some sleep. We'll have more to say tomorrow. I want you to know, I want every person in this hall to know, and I want every person across the country who supported Hillary to know that your voices and your enthusiasm means so much to her and to Tim and to all of us. We are so proud of you. And we are so proud of her. She's done an amazing job, and she is not done yet. So thank you for being with her. She has always been with you. I have to say this tonight. Good night. We will be back. We'll have more to say. Let's get those votes counted, and let's bring this home. Thank you so much for all of you have done. You are in all of our hearts. Thank you.
The Clinton team had written a victory speech for this party on this night, and we have just witnessed John Podesta telling everyone to go home.
Well, I'll bet you nobody from the Donald Trump campaign is thinking about going home. And I'll bet there are no charges tonight of a rigged election over at the Trump campaign headquarters.
Well, Scott, it looks like people are heeding John Podesta's advice and filing out. You can see some people are crying. Some people just look kind of stunned. And I think the Clinton campaign itself is trying to figure out what to do next. Does Hillary Clinton stay here in Manhattan or go home to Chappaqua? If they say something in the morning, what do they say?
These are live pictures of the Trump Watch Party. Donald Trump is there, we are told, and we understand that he will be taking the stage at any moment, and we will switch to him immediately when that happens. But we will first go to Major Garrett, who is there at campaign headquarters. Major?
Is it a Democratic source?
Well, there's a roar of approval here. You can hear behind me. We have been told, I believe, I can confirm that Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump to concede. We expect Donald Trump to come out here any moment and announce that to his throng of supporters in the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan, and that this moment, long sought by Donald Trump, long disbelieved by some in the Republican Party, everyone in the Democratic Party, and a good number of the American people still unsure about Donald Trump, apparently has come. Trump, if in fact Hillary Clinton has, as we are led to believe, called to concede, will tell his supporters that, tell the country that, and begin the process of moving himself from Republican nominee to President-elect of the United States. And the atmosphere, as you can imagine here, is elated, enthusiastic beyond belief, and a roar just went up right before I went on air. Scott and Nora, ear-splitting of the kind I've been hearing on the campaign trail when Donald Trump appeared to rallies with thousands and thousands of supporters, hoping this moment might come. In fact, it appears it has.
Now, we want to emphasize, Major, of course, that though word there is that Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump to concede, we do not have confirmation of that from the Clinton campaign. And of course, the way the vote totals are right now, Donald Trump has not quite won the presidency tonight. He's at 245 electoral votes. He needs 270. These states that are remaining certainly are leaning his way. There's no question about that. But we were told earlier that Hillary Clinton's people were going to take the rest of this morning and wait until tomorrow morning to have any more to say about all of this. We are waiting for Donald Trump to come out onto the stage, and the moment he does, we'll be sure to go to him. And
I sure would like to know when she...
And Arizona, we are now calling for Donald Trump. There you go. CBS News estimates that when all the votes are counted, Donald Trump will be the winner in Arizona.
That's
that
11,
will give him 2 more electoral votes. So that now brings our vote totals to Hillary Clinton 218, Donald Trump 256. He only needs to get to 270. And there are a few more states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan that are still outstanding. But Donald Trump is leading in those states. So it may just be a matter of time, maybe just a few more minutes now before this is all done.
So all he needs is 14, right?
To get to 270. That's right, Bob. That's all he needs is 14. Pennsylvania alone would do that for him. Michigan alone would do that for him. And here comes Donald Trump.
Sounds like they just introduced Mike Pence. And his wife, Karen.
There's Mike Pence.
Mike Pence and
his family. We would expect Donald Trump next, and probably pandemonium to follow him onto the stage.
CNN projecting Trump wins Wisconsin.
They need to be down to 4.
They have reason to celebrate at those headquarters tonight.
Now come both sides. Come both sides.
For political office and in his first bid for office. He has managed to capture 266 electoral votes and is on his way to winning the presidency.
He became a Republican in 2012.
And here is Donald Trump.
Our nation and renewing the American dream. I've spent my entire life in business looking at the untapped potential in projects and in people all over the world. That is now what I want to do for our country. Tremendous potential. I've gotten to know our country so well. Tremendous potential. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Every single American will have the opportunity to realize his or her fullest potential. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. We are going to fix our inner cities and rebuild our highways, bridges, tunnels, airports, schools, hospitals. We're going to rebuild our infrastructure, which will become, by the way, second to none. And we will put millions of our people to work as we rebuild it. We will also finally take care of our great veterans. We've been so loyal, and I've gotten to know so many over this 18-month journey. The time I've spent with them during this campaign has been among my greatest honors. Our veterans are incredible people. We will embark upon a project of national growth and renewal. I will harness the creative talents of our people, and we will call upon the best and brightest to leverage their tremendous talent for the benefit of all. It's going to happen. We have a great economic plan. We will double our growth and have the strongest economy anywhere in the world. At the same time, we will get along with all other nations willing to get along with us. We will be. We'll have great relationships. We expect to have great relationships. No dream is too big, no challenge is too great. Nothing we want for our future is beyond our reach. America will no longer settle for anything less than the best. We must reclaim our country's destiny and dream big and bold and daring. We have to do that. We're going to dream of things for our country, and beautiful things and successful things once again. I want to tell the world community that while we will always put America's interests first, we will deal fairly with everyone, all people and all other nations. We will seek common ground, not hostility, partnership, not conflict. And now, I'd like to take this moment to thank some of the people who really helped me with this, what they are calling tonight, very, very historic victory. First, I want to thank my parents, who I know are looking down on me right now. Great people. I've learned so much from them. They were wonderful in every regard. I had truly great parents. I also want to thank my sisters, Marianne and Elizabeth, who are here with us tonight. And where are they? They're here someplace. They're very shy, actually. And my brother Robert, my great friend. Where is Robert? Where is Robert? My brother Robert. And they should all be on this stage, but that's okay. They are great. And also my late brother, Fred, great guy, fantastic guy. Fantastic family. I was very lucky. Great brothers, sisters, great, unbelievable parents. To Melania and Don, and Ivanka, and Eric, and Tiffany, and Barron. I love you and I thank you, and especially for putting up with all of those hours. This was tough. This was tough. This political stuff is nasty and it's tough. So I want to thank my family very much. Really fantastic. Thank you all. Thank you all. And Lara, unbelievable job. Unbelievable. Vanessa, thank you. Thank you very much. What a great group. You've all given me such incredible support, and I will tell you that we have a large group of people. You know, they kept saying we have a small staff. Not so small. Look at all the people that we have. Look at all of these people. And Kellyanne, and Chris, and Rudy, and Steve, and David. We have got tremendously talented people up here, and I want to tell you, it's been it's been very, very special. I want to give a very special thanks to our former mayor, Rudy Giuliani, who's unbelievable. Unbelievable. He traveled with us, and he went through meetings. And see, that Rudy never changes. Where's Rudy? Where is he? Rudy. Governor Chris Christie, folks, was unbelievable. Thank you, Chris. The first man, first senator, first major politician, and let me tell you, he is highly respected in Washington because he's as smart as you get. Senator Jeff Sessions. Where's Jeff? Great man. Another great man, very tough competitor. He was not easy. He was not easy. Who was that? Is that the mayor that showed up? Is that Rudy? Oh, Rudy got up here. Another great man who has been really a friend to me. But I'll tell you, I got to know him as a competitor because he was one of the folks that was negotiating to go against those Democrats. Dr. Ben Carson. Where's Ben? Where is Ben? And by the way, Mike Huckabee is here someplace, and he is fantastic. Mike and his family, Sarah, thank you very much. General Mike Flynn. Where is Mike? And General Kellogg. We have over 200 generals and admirals that have endorsed our campaign. And they're special people, and it's really an honor. We have 22 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients. We have just tremendous people. A very special person who believed me, and, you know, I'd read reports that I wasn't getting along with him. I never had a bad second with him. He's an unbelievable star. He is, that's right, how did you possibly guess? So let me tell you about Reince. And I've said this. I said, Reince, and I know it. Look at all those people over there. I know it. Reince is a superstar. But I said, they can't call you a superstar, Reince, unless we win. Because you can't be called a superstar like Secretariat. If Secretariat came in second, Secretariat would not have that big, beautiful bronze bust at the track at Belmont. But I'll tell you, Reince is really a star. And he is the hardest working guy. And in a certain way, I did this. Reince, come up here. Where is Reince? Get over here, Reince. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's about time you did this, Reince. Huh? My guy. Yeah, say a few words. No, come on. Say something.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you. It's been an honor. God bless. Thank God.
Amazing guy. Our partnership with the RNC was so important to the success and what we've done. So I also have to say I've gotten to know some incredible people, the Secret Service people. They're tough, and they're smart, and they're sharp.
Maybe Russia's pleased with it, as we were hearing from our reporter in Moscow earlier this evening. I don't know how the rest of the world is going to react to this, except with surprise. They're going to find it hard to believe, I think.
They'll probably react depending on how he maintains the sense that he did in this speech, or in terms of the people that he chooses, selects him to be in his cabinet. That will be an indication of what kind of government he wants to have.
Major Garrett is at the Trump campaign headquarters. Major?
Well, a couple of things, Scott, and everyone else on the panel. Talking about governing, my sources within the Trump transition team tell me that as of last Thursday, all of the work set before that transition team had been completed, meaning they'd put together all the policy binders, had put together all the binders on passable cabinet and sub-cabinet nominations and appointees, had put together all the bindings on other political appointees that a future Trump presidency, should it occur, might have to have ready for the work to begin. So that work by the transition team has been completed and is ready for Donald Trump, now President-elect of the United States. So when Donald Trump told the country tonight he's going to get to work, he has plenty of binders and plenty of staffers on that transition team who have done the work for him to begin that process. A couple of other observations. Donald Trump has said from the very beginning of this campaign that he saw something in America in terms of untapped potential, in terms of people who wanted to be a part of a rejuvenated American dream, but felt that was no longer open to them. And he tried to speak to those people before he spoke to anyone else, and in a way that they fundamentally understood without any filtering from any other source. And even when controversies would arise and Trump's poll numbers would dip, or there would be some defections from the Republican Party over something that Trump said, those people who heard Trump first never left his side. And Trump was speaking to them tonight when he talked about a country to be proud in, a country that's going to aim for the best and never accept anything less than the best. Those words always resonated with his supporters. One last historical analogy that I've never forgotten since Newt Gingrich, a longtime Trump supporter, put before me several months ago. He said, to understand Donald Trump, you have to understand three American figures. Andrew Jackson, a populist president who toppled the existing order in Washington. Teddy Roosevelt, a Republican president who challenged the existing Republican approach to business and was a person of strength and projected strength. And P.T. Barnum, someone who relentlessly marketed himself for the benefit of his business and his image of himself. Newt Gingrich told me Donald Trump is a combination of all three of those figures, and his upside potential is enormous, and his downside risk is also rather sizable. And even in the last stage of the campaign, Gingrich fretted openly if Trump, the downside, would undercut the potential upside. It did not. The upside now lays before the country, lays before Trump and his transition team. Guys, back to you.
And Nancy Cordes is over at the Jacob Javits Center here in New York, where Hillary Clinton's watch party broke up about an hour ago. Nancy?
Well, Scott, the lights are now out here, and they've already brought out the heavy equipment to start tearing this whole set apart. And what's so fascinating is that for all of the talk over the past many weeks about the possibility of Donald Trump not accepting the outcome of this election, in the end, it was Hillary Clinton and her campaign chair, John Podesta, speaking for her, who came out here just after 2 a.m. Eastern time and told everyone to go home because things were still up in the air. And yet, a short time later, we can now confirm Hillary Clinton did call Donald Trump to concede. So at the end of the day, she is the one who has not delivered a concession speech, at least on election night. I'm told that there are a number of Clinton campaign officials still at Brooklyn headquarters, crunching the numbers, trying to figure out what went wrong, trying to figure out if there are any voting irregularities that they should examine or call attention to. Every single campaign aide I have seen here tonight, Scott, has been shell-shocked. They are totally stunned by this news. They weren't just confident at the beginning of the night that she was going to win. They were sure of it. There was no other possible outcome in their mind, not because they were cocky or being fanciful, but because all of the data that they were looking at was telling them that she was going to win. And that may be part of the reason that you never saw her here tonight, which is just like her campaign aides, it was very difficult for Hillary Clinton to accept the news as well.
Nancy Cordes, thank you. And an interesting point that she makes there about as much data, polling, money, consultants, the whole Obama analytics team could not fend off what has been an incredible uprising for change in this country and for the unique person that Donald Trump is?
You know, it'll be fascinating when he starts to govern, because a lot of times when people would say, well, you know, you're supposed to do it this way, and you're not doing it that way, you're doing it this other way, and that would create a certain sense of chaos, but he thrived in chaos. In fact, when things were too calm, he sometimes would create chaos to turn the conversation on his turf. What does that look like when you govern? It may be the route to new success in a number of parts of Washington that have been clotted, but it's going to be an exciting ride. And there are going to be a lot of people who need to join in the team who may not know how to work or need to learn how to work in an environment where you've got a leader who leads in that way. And that'll be, we've never seen a chief executive who has led like that, in part because the office constrains you. You can't do it. But on the other hand, we thought there was a lot in politics that constrained him, and nothing did.
But you know, guys, he has said all along from the very beginning that this was not a campaign, this was a movement, and he made reference to that again tonight. This is a movement, he says, of hardworking people who love their country. And at least from the numbers we're looking at right now, close to 58 million people agreed with him that this is a movement.
But it was also a reaction to a Washington that has ceased to work. The purpose of government is to improve the lives of citizens. Our government has been just gridlocked. It's been unable to do anything. I said earlier today, you know, it took them 8 months to approve funds to find a vaccine for the Zika virus.
Right.
This is a reaction to what didn't happen as much as it was a victory for Donald Trump and his people tonight.
And Charlie Rose has the insights of our political panel. Charlie?
Scott, thank you. You know, you can say that everybody who achieved the presidency, somehow it changes them. They can't imagine what it's really like to be there and to feel the burden of the office. And his first official act to accept the concession from Secretary Clinton, Donald Trump did it with some grace and respect for his opponent. Chris Christie told me on Sunday during an interview that he'd been working hard on the transition and that they had reams of books and had thought deeply about what they would do if the opportunity to govern came. I turn next to Peggy Noonan. Your thoughts?
I think his victory speech, which many people, including perhaps he, did not know he would be making tonight, was one that was worthy to the moment. It showed us a Trump who was graver than usual, who was more serious than usual. He said things like, no dream is too big, no challenge is too great. He reached out. I think he was trying very hard. I think he was being sensitive to those he understood he had to reassure, the one half of the United States of America that did not vote for him. So I thought it was equal to the moment, and I was glad to see its tone and hear its ring.
Michelle. I agree. He's spoken in an octave that we have not heard thus far in the campaign, and with a cadence that we hadn't heard. This was perhaps his first demonstration of something as a leader that we hadn't seen before. He didn't throw an elbow. But he also talked about rebuilding, and it'll be interesting to know what that means. Is he just talking about infrastructure? Is he just talking about building the economy? Or is he also talking about unspooling the legacy of Barack Obama? Barack Obama's presidency has been consequential, and for some people, they view it as something that has been quite successful. And will he start taking apart key provisions of the Obama legacy? And so it sounded quite graceful, but was he also sending a signal that change is coming? Right. Big change is coming.
You know, Charlie, what I keep coming back to and thinking about Trump's victory and the implications and what we'll see going forward is that his coalition didn't just include working-class whites and college-educated whites. On an activist level, it included men like Stephen Bannon, included people who would identify themselves as white nationalists, included parts of American life that have been suppressed for a very long time. And so looking forward, I think I'm a little less interested in sort of the mechanics of a Trump government and more interested in what does it mean that a candidate who in a lot of ways ran with a nod and a wink towards those people is now the president of the United States. What does that mean for African Americans? What does that mean for Muslim Americans? What does that mean for the groups of people that Trump has targeted in his campaign? I think that is the question that should be driving a lot of us going forward, because I do not think that we should take lightly those facts.
The question will be, will he govern differently than the way he campaigned? Often governing is someone, I think it was Governor Cuomo said, governing is prose and campaigning is poetry. We will now see what the prose is like.
I think one of the things that Jamil said, though, is so important. In that governing is one thing, but also the messages that you send. We have this odd moment in America where we're passing the baton from the nation's first black president to a candidate who was endorsed by the KKK and did not denounce that.
Exactly.
And so, as president, you send a message to the electorate about these key issues. And governance is one thing, but how people live and react on the ground is something very different.
It's about deed, not action. I mean, it's about action, not words, in the end.
Yes, of course. But let me sum up for me. I do indeed. I think we have witnessed tonight something epical and grave. I think it is the beginning of a new era whose shape and form and content are not known to us and are not clear, whose personnel and exact direction are unknown. But I think something huge and incalculable has occurred this evening. And I just wanted my last words to be, God bless our beloved country.
It was a historic night, and we all look forward to understanding how it goes from here. Back to Scott and Nora at the desk.
Brilliant conversation there, Charlie, and some really interesting points to amplify here. What is Barack Obama going to say? He has called Donald Trump unfit. He's called him dangerous. And what will this mean for Obama's legacy? It means it's in jeopardy.
On January 20th, President Obama is going to be standing next to Donald Trump at the Capitol watching him being sworn in.
Well, I mean, one of the first things that Donald Trump has said he's going to do is roll back Obamacare, which was the president's main legacy. And what other things are going to happen here that,
as you know, and he's going to have to work with Congress, and there's some prioritization here that it's going to have to take place.
We're looking closer into the numbers about how Trump pulled off this historic victory tonight. Anthony Mason has those details. Anthony?
Nora, we're going to look at the three pillars of Trump's victory. The first was male voters, men. He won them 53 to 41%. He also won whites without a college degree by more than a 2-to-1 margin, 67 to 28%. And voters told us that the quality they wanted most in their candidate today was a candidate who could bring about change. And among those voters, Donald Trump won 83%. So huge landslide in that category there, the most important quality. And finally, there was a lot of talk after the Access Hollywood tape, and a lot of leading Republicans pulled back their endorsement from Donald Trump, that Republicans might, in fact, flee from him. Well, that didn't turn out to be the case today. He won 9 out of 10 Republican voters. They came home to Donald Trump. Gail?
He certainly did, Anthony. Continuing that conversation, according to the exit poll, 7 in 10 said that they were dissatisfied with the federal government. 58% of those who made that comment went with Donald Trump. 36% of those went with Hillary Clinton. It goes back to what he said from when he started this campaign. It's not a campaign, it's a movement of people. And that certainly bore itself out today.
Now, everybody knows it's only the electoral vote that counts, and Donald Trump has won that decisively tonight. But have a look at how divided the country is. Let's look at the popular vote. 57,600,000 for Donald Trump, 56,855,000 for Hillary Clinton. That's the popular vote as it's being counted right now. Donald Trump wins in the popular vote, yes indeed, but it's only about 1% difference between the two.
Yes, and we've seen Donald Trump give a conciliatory sort of the right pitch in his speech, but those 56 million who voted for Hillary Clinton, there are a lot of them who believe that he came to this position by playing on racial fears. He was for 5 years the chief advocate of the idea that President Obama was illegitimate because he wasn't born in the United States. There are people on the other side of this who are not going to just accept this, and we will see what the shape of that response will be, and who becomes the voice of that response. You mentioned Barack Obama. He will not be the voice of that response, but who is and who does, and we have yet to see that part of the story play out.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. One is this is really a historic achievement in America. I mean, it's historic. Nothing like this has ever happened before. And secondly, you have to give him credit. I mean, he has achieved something that no one from the beginning ever believed he could do.
Elaine?
So on the point that John was making about these racial divisions, David Duke has tweeted, "This is one of the most exciting nights of my life. Make no mistake about it, our people have played a huge role in electing Trump. Hashtag MAGA, Make America Great Again." Now, at the same time, as Trump was reaching out tonight, I was reminded of the Latinos that I met at the U.S.-Mexico border when I did a documentary for CBSN, Latinos for Trump, who were among his most passionate supporters because they felt he was the one who was actually going to affect change in Washington. So they truly believed in him from the beginning, despite all the controversies.
Bob, what are you reflecting on this morning?
You know, I remember when Richard Nixon resigned and CBS News correspondent Roger Mudd was part of the panel after that happened, and they said, "Roger, what's your reaction?" And he said, "You know, I think I want to go home and sleep a couple of hours, and I'll come back and tell you tomorrow." This was totally unexpected. I think certainly from those of us who've been covering politics and over the years, this is, I think Charlie is right. This is historic. But I don't think we can say right now where this goes from here.
Unexpected, not because of any interest in politics, but unexpected because of the polling. The polls were telling us. Polls done by many different organizations at many different times. They were all pointing in the direction of a Clinton victory.
The polls and the behavior of a candidate that people said was not fit to be president of the United States. So many people had found his behavior egregious, but at the end of the day, it really didn't matter. I take some hope in his speech tonight, though, that he said he wants to reach out, that he wants to build bridges, and that he wants us all to come together. I think that's a really good way to start in this country, because there's a lot of healing that needs to happen today.
If you look to your point, Gail, on the questions of has the right experience and has the right judgment, Hillary Clinton won those questions by gargantuan amounts and numbers, but again, it's not what people wanted. They wanted change over experience and judgment.
They're fed up.
All right. Well,
yeah,
change is what they will get.
Yeah. And we hope
it has been quite a night.
We hope he rules by fear by hope rather than fear.
Well, his conciliatory victory speech tonight was certainly a very good step in a long, long process over these next 4 years. We sure are grateful that you stayed here with us all this time. The
Yes, who are you people?
rancorous, sometimes raunchy election of 2016 now comes to a peaceful, if improbable, end. 70-year-old Donald J. Trump will be sworn in as the 45th President of the United States on January the 20th.
The Trump presidency begins in 72 days, fueled by what we know now is record turnout. Election coverage continues now on our streaming news service, CBSN, and there will be much more in just a few hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's gonna be
Charlie
here, Nora?
and I, right back here.
Wearing these same clothes.
Yeah.
For Nora O'Donnell and our entire Campaign 2016 team, I'm Scott Pelley. Thank you for being with us on CBS.